Guruji, Dandavat Pranam. Guruji, Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
We can continue with our prayers and reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Gopala Krishna Samiti Namini. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktaranda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. Anybody would like to sing today? Not. Okay, I will see. I will sing the prayers and then we'll read the translations. So, this is Govinda Damodar Stotram, verses 41 to 50 by Srila Bilvamangal Thakur. Atyantika vyadiharam jananam chikitsakam vedavido vadanti संसारतापत्रयनाशबीजं गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति ताताज्ञया गच्छति रामचन्द्रे स लक्ष्मणेरण्य च ये ससीते चक्रन्दरामस्य निजा जनित्री गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति एकाकिनी दण्डककाननान्तात् सा नीयमाना दशकन्धरेण सीता तदाक्रोशदनन्यनाथ गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति रामाद्वियुक्ता जनकात्मजा सा विचिन्तयन्ती हृदि रामरूपम् रुरोदसीता रघुनाथ पाहि गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति प्रसीद विष्णो रघुवंशनाथ सुरासुराणां सुखदुःखहेतो रुरोदसीता तु समुद्रमध्ये गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति अन्तर्जले ग्राहगृहीतपादो विसृष्टविक्लिष्टसमस्तबन्धुः तदा गजेन्द्रो नितरां जगाधा गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति हंसध्वजसङ्खयुतो ददर्श पुत्रं कटाहे प्रपतन्तमेनं पुण्यानि नामानि हरे जपन्तं गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति दुर्वाससो वाक्यमुपेत्य कृष्ण स चाब्रवीत्काननवासिनीशम् अन्तः प्रविष्टं मनसा जुहावा गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति ध्येयः सदा योगिभिरप्रमेयः चिन्ताहरश्चिन्तितपारिजातः कस्तूरिकाकल्पितनीलवर्णो गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति संसारिकूपे पतितोऽगाधे मोहान्धपूर्णे विषयाभितप्ते करावलम्बं मम देहि विष्णो गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री गोविंद दामोदर स्तोत्रम की जय। श्री बिल्वा मंगल ठाकुर की जय। जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। Anybody who would like to take up the service of reading 41 to 50 translation? I will continue then. The knowers of the Vedas say that this is the cure all of the worst diseases of mankind, and that this is the seed of the destruction of the threefold miseries of material existence. Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Upon Ramachandra's going into the forest, due to his father's order, along with Lakshman and Sita, his mother cried, O Govind, Damodar, Madhav. Left there alone, Sita was carried out of the forest by the ten-headed Ravana. At that time, accepting no other lord, Sita cried, O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Separated from Ram, the daughter of the king Janaka was completely anxious, and with the form of Rama within her heart, she cried, O Raghunath, protect me, O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, O Lord Vishnu, be gracious, Lord of the Raghu clan, cause of the happiness and distress of gods and demons alike. O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Thus Sita cried as she was being carried over the middle of the ocean. Caught by his foot and pulled into the water, Gajendra, his friends all harassed and frightened away, they called out incessantly, Govinda, Damodar, Madhava. Along with his priest Shankayuta, King Hamsadvaja saw his son Sudhanva falling into a vat. But the boy was chanting the transcendental names of Hari, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, accepting Durvasa Muni's request that she feed his many disciples, though she hadn't the means. Draupadi mentally called out to the Lord from within the heart, the Lord of the forest dwellers. She said, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. He is always meditated upon by the yogis as being inscrutable. He is the remover of all anxieties and is the desire tree of all that is desired. His bluish complexion is as attractive as Kasturika. Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. I am fallen into the deep dark well of material life, which is full of illusion and blind ignorance, and I am tormented by sensual existence. O my Lord Vishnu, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, please grant me your supporting hand to uplift me. Hare Krishna. Yes, as this prayer is calling out, this is what all these hippies that we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit yesterday, kind of calling out. There's one boy who came at 2 a.m. knocking on the doors, right? As if he's saying, oh Krishna, please help me, please save me. I'm not able to live in this body anymore. So at 2 a.m., the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada and the police officer who came along with him was saying, we thought he was struggling and we thought you guys will be able to help him. But similarly, in this world, everybody is under the illusion and blind ignorance. Everybody is suffering, tormented by the senses and the mind. And we have to call out. And when we call out with deep faith, then Krishna sends his pure representatives to help us. And just like we say, Srimad Bhagavatam is the boat, and the Guru is the sailor who helps us by helping us cross this material ocean. So similarly, yesterday, as we were reading Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit, like Alan Ginsberg was saying, Srila Prabhupada, they were all coming in the morning for the kirtan and for class, and they were coming to the space station of Srila Prabhupada, of Krishna consciousness, because as their consciousness was coming down from the drugs that they were taking, this was kind of the spiritual heaven for them, kind of a space station. So similarly, in that space station of Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada is the spaceman, is the commander who is taking them to a world which is above this realm of materialism into a higher realm from where they can just stay high forever and not return. So yeah, we saw how much difficulties Prabhupada was going through dealing with all these strange and weird people who were not in their senses, and they were just coming there. Uh, the police were sometimes going to the park and taking them, kind of telling them to go back home. But Srila Prabhupada wasn't actually who was taking them back home, back to Godhead. Okay, so we'll continue reading. Yesterday we are seeing this particular interaction where Haridas Prabhu was talking about Prabhupada's divine qualities and how he was able to help all of these people, all of these souls. So we'll continue reading from here. Sometimes people would take it as a challenge and would try to have a verbal battle with the Swami. The audience's attention would then swing to the disturbing individual, the person who was grabbing the spotlight. Sometimes it was very difficult. I used to sit there and wonder, how is he going to handle this guy? This one is really a problem. But Swamiji was hard to defeat. Even if he couldn't convince the person, he convinced the other people in the crowd so that the energy of the room would change and would tend to quiet the person. Swamiji would win the audience by showing them that this person didn't know what he was talking about, and the person would feel the vibrations of the room change, that the audience was no longer listening or believing his spiel, and so the person would shut up. So Swamiji would remove the audience rather than the person. He would do it without crushing the person. He would do it by superior intelligence, but also with a lot of compassion. When I saw him do these things, then I realized he was a great teacher and a great human being. He had the sensitivity not to injure a person physically or emotionally, so that when the person sat down and shut up, he wouldn't be doing it in defeat or anger. He wouldn't be hurt. He would just be outwitted by the Swami. Even while translating in the privacy of his room, Srila Prabhupada was interrupted by disturbances. Once police cars and ambulances, sirens screaming, lights flashing, converged beneath his window after the Hells Angels had started a fight in the digger's store in the next building. On another occasion, about 1:30 a.m., while Prabhupada was dictating teachings of Lord Chaitanya, a girl repeatedly knocked and called at Prabhupada's door. At first, he ignored the interruption. Since his arrival in San Francisco, he had completed many pages for this important book. Lord Chaitanya's discussions with Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, Ramananda Rai, and others explored many Krishna conscious topics mentioned only briefly in Bhagavad Gita. In the West, almost no one knew about these teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and now Srila Prabhupada intended to compile these teachings in one volume, providing the most complete presentation of Bhakti Yoga ever introduced in English. Such a book would give great substance to the Krishna consciousness movement. But now, his solitary concentration was being interrupted by a knocking at his door and a woman's voice calling. Getting up from his desk, Prabhupada went to the front room but did not open the door. Who is there? A young woman answered. I want to speak to you. Come back later in the morning, Prabhupada told her. He knew that in San Francisco, just as in New York, he would not always be able to write peacefully. Preaching in America meant having to tolerate just this, a crazy call in the middle of the night, tearing one away from ecstatic concentration on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. The lost souls of Haight Ashbury, with their illusions of knowledge, their cries for help, their arrogant challenges, pulled his attention away from his mission of translating and commenting on the scriptures. Now, alone in his apartment, speaking through the locked door, Prabhupada told his intruder that he had work to do and that she should go away. He promised he would see her later that day. He was ready to speak with the hippies all day, but the early morning hours were the special time for his literary work. Preaching face to face to the conditioned souls was important. He had come here to preach, but he had picked these early hours to speak intimately to the whole world through his books, without disturbance. The girl, however, continued pounding and calling until Prabhupada finally opened the door. There, standing in the hallway, he saw a teenage hippie with a glassy stare and deranged appearance. He asked her what she wanted. She remained tensely silent. Speak, he told her. She stepped into his room. He saw her helpless, a victim in the ocean of Maya, and he asked her repeatedly what she wanted. Finally, the girl stared at him with widened eyes and exclaimed, Look, Mahaula. Prabhupada decided to awaken Mukunda, who lived down the hall. He stepped barefoot into the hallway. The girl followed, shutting the self locking door behind her. Now he was locked out of his apartment. She continued to stare at him defiantly in the bare, unfriendly surroundings of a corridor of locked doors at 1 in the morning. This was the way the Babajis of Vrindavan stayed in their little cottages, chanting the holy name, to avoid being bothered by ungodly people. The Babajis, of course, never even dreamed of these bizarre intrusions from the psychedelic San Francisco night. At Mukunda's door, Prabhupada began pounding and calling loudly. Mukunda, Mukunda! Mukunda awoke and opened the door, astonished to see his spiritual master standing barefoot in the hallway, a wild eyed young girl standing a few feet behind. Yet Prabhupada remained grave and aloof. This girl came to my door, he began. He explained briefly what had happened and what should now be done. He did not appear angry or harassed by the girl, and he indicated that Mukunda should deal kindly with her. Mukunda remembered when Prabhupada had been driven out of his New York Bowery loft by his roommate David Allen, who had gone mad on LSD. Then also Prabhupada had remained cool-headed, though caught by a dangerous and awkward circumstance. Mukunda went downstairs and awoke Hayagriva, who had a key to Prabhupada's apartment. Srila Prabhupada then returned to his room and to his dictation of teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Mukunda saw the girl down to the street and admonished her not to bother an elderly gentleman like the Swami at such an hour. Staring at Mukunda, she said, "You are not ready," and walked away. At 7 o'clock, when Prabhupada came down to the temple for the morning class, the girl was sitting in the audience in a calmer state of mind. She apologized. Later in the day, Prabhupada repeated the story in good humor, recounting how he had several times asked the girl to speak. He opened his eyes wide, imitating her expression, and said, "Look, Mahaula," and laughed. "We shall go for a walk at 6:30, Srila Prabhupada said one morning. "You can drive me to the park." Several devotees accompanied him to the Golden Gate Park's Stove Lake. They knew the park well and led Srila Prabhupada on a scenic walk around the lake, over a bridge, through forest enclosed paths, and across a small rivulet, hoping to please him with nature's beauty. As he walked, striding quickly, he would point to a tree or stop to examine a flower. "What is this tree?" he would ask. "What is this flower?" Although his disciples were usually at a loss to answer, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through the forest of Vrindavan, he said, "All the plants, trees, and creepers were delighted to see him and rejoiced in his presence. The plant life there is like that in the spiritual sky, fully conscious." "And these trees, Swamiji, how conscious are they?" "Oh, the spirit soul is there," Prabhupada said, "but the consciousness has been arrested temporarily. Perception is more limited. Whatever Prabhupada saw when he saw through Whatever Prabhupada saw, he saw through the eyes of scripture, and his comments on the most ordinary things were full of transcendental instruction. As he walked, he reflected aloud. Those who want to see God must first have the qualifications to see God. They must be purified, just like the cloud is now covering the sun. They say, "Oh, the sun is not out." But the sun is there, only our eyes are covered. Like tour guides, the boys led Prabhupada to the more picturesque areas. They came upon swans gliding on the lake. Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada said, compares devotees to swans and literature about Lord Krishna to beautiful, clear lakes. The non devotees, he said, were like crows attracted by the rubbish of mundane topics. Walking over a gravel path, he stopped and drew their attention. "Look at the pebbles. As many pebbles there are that many universes. And in each universe, there are innumerable living entities." The devotees, delighted in bringing Swamiji to a rhododendron glen, its big bushes completely covered with white and pink flowers, and they felt privileged to see Krishna through Swamiji's eyes. The next morning, when Prabhupada again wanted to go to the park, more devotees accompanied him. They had heard from others how Swamiji had displayed a different mood while walking. Again, the boys were ready to lead him along new trails around the lake, but without announcing a change in plans, he walked up and down the macadam road beside the lake. Prabhupada and his followers came upon a flock of sleeping ducks. Awakened by the sound of people walking on the path, the ducks began quacking, moving their wings and walking away. When a few devotees hurried ahead to shoo the ducks from Prabhupada's path, the ducks began making sounds of grouching and grumbling. "Move, you ducks," one devotee said. "You are disturbing Swamiji." Prabhupada said quietly, "As we are thinking they are disturbing us, they are thinking we are disturbing them." Prabhupada stopped beneath a large tree and pointed to some bird droppings on the ground. "What does this mean?" he asked, turning to a new boy who stood beside him. Prabhupada's face was serious. The boy blushed. I don't know what it means." Prabhupada remained thoughtful, waiting for an explanation. The devotees gathered around him, looking intently down at the bird droppings. The boy thought the Swamiji might be expecting him to decipher some hidden meaning in the pattern of the droppings, the way people read the future in tea leaves. He felt he should say something. "It's the excreta, the defecations of birds." Prabhupada smiled and turned toward the others for an answer. They were silent. "It means," said Srila Prabhupada, "that these birds, that pronounce the words bards, have lived in the same tree for more than 2 weeks." He laughed. "Even the birds are attached to their apartments." As they passed the shuffleboard courts and the old men playing checkers, Prabhupada stopped and turned to the boys. "Just see," he said, "old people in this country do not know what to do. So they play like children, wasting their last days, which should be meant for developing Krishna consciousness. Their children are grown and gone away. So this is a natural time for spiritual cultivation. But no, They get some cat or dog, and instead of serving God, they serve dog. It is most unfortunate, but they will not listen. Their ways are set. Therefore, we are speaking to the youth who are searching. When Prabhupada and the boys passed a sloping green lawn just off Kizar Drive, the boys pointed out that this was the famous hippie hill. In the early morning, the gently sloping hill and the big quiet meadow, surrounded by eucalyptuses and oaks, were silent and still. But in a few hours, hundreds of hippies would gather here to lounge on the grass, meet friends, and get high. Prabhupada advised the boys to come here and hold kirtanas. Continue chapter 23, The Price of Air. Swamiji's disciples in New York were surprised to find that they could still carry on in his absence. At first, rising early, going to the storefront, and holding the morning kirtan and class had been difficult. Without Swamiji, everything had seemed empty. But he had taught them what to do, and gradually they realized that they should simply follow what he had shown them, or even imitate as a child imitates its parents. And it worked. At first, they had been too shy to speak or lead the kirtan, so they had played tapes of Swamiji's kirtans and classes. But when the evenings came and guests attended the temple, the devotees felt compelled to give live classes. Ram, Brahmananda, Satswarupa, and Rupanuga took turns giving brief talks and even answering challenging questions from the same lower east side audiences that Srila Prabhupada had lion tamed for 6 months. Things were shaky and lacking without him, and yet, in a sense, he was still present. And the devotees found that everything, the chanting, the cooking, the taking of prasadam, the preaching, could still go on. On January 19, just 3 days after his arrival in San Francisco, Prabhupada had written back to his New York disciples. They were his spiritual children and were very dear to him. Although far from his homeland, India, he hadn't thought first of writing to anyone there. Since he was a sannyasi, he had no interest in writing to any family members or relatives. And as far as writing to his god brothers, there was not much importance in that since they had repeatedly shown their reluctance to help. But being in a new city, among new faces, and having met with an initial fanfare of success, Prabhupada had wanted to share the news with those most eager to hear from him. He had also wanted to reassure his disciples, whom, after only a few months of training, he was expecting to conduct the Krishna consciousness movement in New York. My dear Brahmananda, Hayagriva, Kirtananda, Satswarupa, Gargamuni, Achyutananda, Chadurani, please accept my greetings and blessings of Guru Gauranga Giridhari Gandharvika. You have already got the news of our safe arrival and good reception by the devotees here. Mr. Allen Ginsberg and about 50 or 60 others received us on the airport, and when I arrived in my apartment, there were some press reporters who also took note of my mission. Two, three papers like the Examiner and the Chronicles, etc., have already published the report. One of the reports is sent here with please fine. I attach that 1,000 copies of this report may be offset printed at once, and 100 copies of the same may be sent here as soon as possible. I understand that you are feeling my absence. Krishna will give you strength. Physical presence is immaterial. Presence of the transcendental sound received from the spiritual master should be the guidance of life. That will make our spiritual life successful. If you feel very strongly about my absence, you may place my pictures on my sitting places, and this will be a source of inspiration for you. I am very much anxious to hear about the final decision of the House. I wish to open the House by the 1st of March 1967, and arrangement may be done dexterously in this connection. I have not as yet received the tapes for dictaphone, and I have sent you tapes yesterday. Please offer my blessings to Shriman Neil. Shriman Rai Ram is cooking well and distributing prasadam to the devotees, numbering sometimes 70. It is very encouraging. I think this center will be a very nice branch without delay. Everything is prospective. Hope you are well and awaiting your early reply. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Yes, Srila Prabhupada's again a spiritual master. Like I said, he's the captain of the ship, or he's the commander of the spacecraft who can take us back home. And their vision, just like we cannot see, when we are driving, sometimes we have to put the GPS on, and only when we look at the GPS, we know where we are going, right? So similarly, only the commander of the ship knows the ultimate destination. And as he was walking through the GPS of the park, he was able to see the end goal, which is Krishna everywhere, right? He was able to see how the Lord has created this beautiful nature, how all the natural entities like the plants and the trees and the birds and the swans, everything he was connecting back to the father, original father was Shri Krishna, and how all these living entities are just tiny um, entities in the innumerable universes that exist. Just like last week when we were at Columbus Rath Yatra, on the road, Rath was going fast, and then when it reached the pebbles, we were seeing there were so many pebbles. It was a gravel road. So here Prabhupada walking on the gravel road, pebbles. He's comparing all those pebbles, as the universes, just like when Lord Jagannath Rath was on the pebbles, the Lord of the universe, Jagannath. And just similarly here, Prabhupada is comparing that all these pebbles under the Rath of the Jagannath are these universes, innumerable universes that are coming out from the body of the Lord of the universes, right? And there are innumerable entities, living entities. Like last night, I think when we were seeing the movie, Nalan Prabhu and I, we were talking about that, about all those bubbles that were there, right? Similarly, all those bubbles, like universes, come out from the pores of Mahavishnu. But yeah, Prabhupada, as a pure devotee, is able to see and connect everything back to Krishna. And yeah, now he's so happy that his disciples are helping him in the mission. And even though he has left his disciples in New York and he has come to San Francisco, they are so wonderfully carrying out the mission, what he had taught them, even with just few months of training, even though they were shy initially, but now, getting blessings from him, and they were just continuing to chant and chant and hold kirtans and cook prasadam and distribute prasadam, just as he used to do. So it gives us a lot of hope and a lot of courage and joy in our heart that we are also trying, just like those early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They have taught us, our Guru Vargas have taught us, and now we are following in their footsteps. We are holding these Saturday programs at our centers. When nobody's there, we are holding classes, we are holding kirtans, we are distributing prasadam, we are serving. So again, just as the parampara has been going on from Brahmaji Narad Muni and from our Guru Varga. So, we see, like, that is because of the potency and the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, that whatever is happening, when he started with one and two centers, now there are thousands of centers. There are more than 800 plus temples and centers all over the world. And everywhere there is program, at least, for centers, we have once a week program, temples, we have everyday programs, and everything that Prabhupada started from one tiny small storefront in Matchless Gifts in New York today has spread. So he laid that foundation, he sowed that seed, and that seed has been carefully nourished through the process of bhakti by chanting and holding kirtans and by glorifying the Lord's names, qualities, pastimes, entourage, his associates. So based on that purity and potency, all this has spread all over the world now. So, and we see how Prabhupada is lovingly writing back to them, encouraging them more and more to continue to do that. And today, yeah, in New York, yeah, with the blessings of His Holiness Sadhana Swami Maharaj, that whole Matchless Gifts has been revived, and people come there from all over the world. All devotees come there to get spiritual energy, spiritual upliftment, to get blessings from Srila Prabhupada. But like Srila Prabhupada says here, He's always there wherever the names of the Lord are chanted, wherever Kirtan is performed. Even though He's physically not there, spiritually He's there. His spirit potency is there. And He says to them, when if I'm not there, you can put my pictures, and then that way you'll always feel me there. So similarly, we see now in all the temples, we have Srila Prabhupada's Vigraha, Murti, or yeah, we have Srila Prabhupada's pictures. And yeah, in the New York Center also, they recently reinstalled or installed Srila Prabhupada's Vigraha Murti. So that was a very nice thing. And at our center also, we have Srila Prabhupada's small deity. So yeah, Prabhupada is always there wherever Kirtan is held, wherever programs are held. And yeah, he will continue to bless the disciples and the devotees for the next 10,000 years while this movement goes on. Hare Krishna. Okay, any other thoughts, reflections, comments from today's reading? Anything that touched your heart? Pawan Prabhuji, thank you for leading the chanting again. It was very nice to see you in the morning. Okay. Anybody else would like to say something? If not, then we'll conclude for today. All right. So we'll wrap it up here today, and we'll see you all today at our ISKCON Cincinnati Center in the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, so that we can continue this mission till our lifetime on this planet. All right. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की जय। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। शिला प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।